Hi, welcome to the Wise Archive. Here, we make language learning simple and interesting. With us, you'll forget you're even studying and enjoy every moment. Barack Obama was a boy who loved to learn. He was born in Hawaii. He dreamed of helping people and making the world better. He wanted to speak, teach, and lead. He lived with his mother and grandparents. The house smelled of food and flowers. The walls were light and clean. He often played outside. The sun was warm, and the wind was soft. He looked at the trees, the ocean, and the sky. He thought again, one day I will do something important. At school, he liked reading books. The classroom was small but bright. The smell of paper and chalk was strong. He listened to teachers carefully. He learned words, numbers, and history. He thought again, knowledge is the key to help people. Barack had friends of many cultures. They ran, laughed, and played games. The streets were noisy with cars and bicycles. The smell of bread from bakeries filled the air. Barack liked to talk and learn from friends. He thought again, people are different, but we can work together. He often went to the library. The smell of books and paper was nice. He touched the covers and read slowly. The pages were smooth and clean. He saw pictures of leaders and heroes. He thought again, I want to speak and lead like them. His family sometimes worried about money. They bought small food and simple clothes. Barack helped at home. He touched the dishes, cleaned floors, and carried small bags. The house smelled of soap and rice. He thought again, I must work hard and learn more. Barack liked the ocean and beaches in Hawaii. The water was warm, and the sand was soft. He listened to the waves and felt the wind. He thought again, the world is big, and I want to see it. He studied history and famous leaders. He saw pictures of Washington and Lincoln. He read their words carefully. The classroom smelled of chalk and wood. He thought again, I can learn from them, and I can lead too. Barack's school had many activities. He joined sports and clubs. The sound of balls hitting the ground was loud. He felt the sweat on his skin and the sun on his face. He thought again, I must be strong and brave. He wanted to go to college. He studied hard every day. The pages of books were smooth, and the words were clear. He touched pencils, notebooks, and paper. The smell of books and pencils was in the air. He thought again, education is my path to help people. Barack Obama was a small boy with big dreams. He loved learning, people, and the world. He wanted to lead and make a difference. Every day he looked at the sky and thought, one day I will do great things. His journey had not started yet, but his heart was ready. Barack grew older and went to high school. He met many new friends and teachers. The classrooms were bright and filled with books. The smell of chalk and paper was strong. He listened carefully and asked questions. He thought again, I must learn more to help people. He often went to the library after school. The shelves were tall and full of books. He touched the pages and smelled the ink. He read about leaders, history, and law. He wanted to understand the world. He thought again, knowledge will help me change things. Barack loved basketball. He played with friends on the court. The sound of the ball hitting the ground was loud. His hands felt the smooth leather. He ran, jumped, and felt the sun on his face. He thought again, sports teach me strength and focus. He helped people in the neighborhood. He visited small clinics and community centers. The smell of food, medicine, and soap was everywhere. He touched the hands of children and elders. He felt happy when he helped. He thought again, helping others is my path. Barack studied hard for college. He wrote essays and read many books. The pages were smooth. The ink smelled strong. He looked at maps and notes carefully. He thought again, education will open doors for me. He moved to a new city for university. The streets were busy and noisy. Cars honked, people talked, and the smell of food was everywhere. Barack walked carefully and looked at buildings, shops, and parks. He thought again, this is new, I must learn the city. He joined student groups and talked to people. The rooms smelled of coffee and paper. He listened to stories and shared ideas. He touched books, pens, and notebooks. He thought again, I can lead, I can speak, I can help. Barack worked part-time in offices and community centers. The smell of paper and computers filled the rooms. He touched files, typed on keyboards, and counted money. He learned how organizations worked. He thought again, experience is as important as books. He traveled to different cities to meet people. The trains were noisy and crowded. The smell of food and clothes was strong. He saw streets, buildings, and parks. He touched seats, doors, and railings. He thought again, the world is big, and I must see it to understand. Barack wrote many letters and speeches. The paper was smooth, the ink smelled strong. He practiced speaking in classrooms and halls. He listened to applause and felt nervous. He thought again, my voice can make a difference. Barack Obama was a young man with strong dreams. He loved learning, people, and leadership. Every day he looked at the world and thought, one day I will help many people. His journey had begun, and he worked hard for the future. Barack went to law school to learn more. The classrooms were large and quiet. The smell of books and paper was strong. He read many cases and laws carefully. He wrote notes and touched the smooth pages. He thought again, knowledge will help me help others. He worked in community centers in the city. The rooms smelled of food and soap. Children played, and people talked loudly. Barack listened and helped solve problems. He touched papers, doors, and desks. He thought again, helping people teaches me important lessons. He became a teacher for young students. The classroom was bright and warm. The smell of chalk and books was everywhere. He touched the blackboard and notebooks. He explained lessons and listened to students. He thought again, teaching is helping, and I can learn too. Barack decided to run for local office. The streets were noisy with cars and voices. The smell of food from markets mixed with smoke. He visited houses and shook hands. He listened to people's problems and needs. He touched doors and walls. He thought again, leadership is serving, and I must be careful. He faced difficulties in politics. Some people disagreed with him. The offices smelled of paper and coffee. He touched files and phones. He worked long hours. He thought again, patience and effort are important, and I cannot give up. Barack spoke in public many times. The halls were full and noisy. People looked at him and listened carefully. He touched podiums and notes. The smell of flowers and candles was present. He thought again, my words can inspire, and I must speak clearly. He traveled across the country to meet voters. The cities were big, and the streets were crowded. The smell of food, smoke, and people was strong. He touched doors, railings, and hands. He listened to stories and problems. He thought again, understanding people is key to helping them. Barack won his first election. The offices smelled of paper and coffee. People clapped and smiled. He touched papers, chairs, and doors. He thought again, hard work is important, and dreams can come true. He worked to help communities and improve schools. The classrooms were full and bright. The smell of books and chalk was strong. He listened to students and teachers. He touched desks, chairs, and books. He thought again, small changes can help many people. Barack's work in the local government made him known. He traveled, spoke, and listened. The cities were noisy, and the air was full of smells. He touched maps, files, and doors. He thought again, each effort brings new opportunities. Barack Obama was a young man learning, leading, and helping. Every day he looked at people and thought, one day I will make a bigger difference. His journey had challenges, but he kept moving forward. Barack decided to run for the Senate. The offices were busy and full of papers. The smell of coffee and ink was strong. He touched files, doors, and chairs. He listened to voters and spoke to groups. He thought again, I must be careful, I must be patient, I must lead well. He traveled to many cities. Streets were noisy and crowded. The smell of food, smoke, and flowers filled the air. He touched railings, doors, and papers. He listened to people's needs and stories. He thought again, understanding people is important, and I must listen carefully. During the campaign, he faced many challenges. Some people disagreed with him. The officers smelled of ink and paper. He touched maps and notes. He worked long hours. He thought again, patience and effort will bring results, and I cannot give up. He won the Senate election. The halls were full of people. The smell of paper and flowers was strong. People clapped and smiled. He touched chairs, podiums, and papers. He thought again, hard work is important, and my dream is moving forward. Barack worked to create programs for schools and communities. The classrooms were bright and full of children. The smell of chalk and books was strong. He listened to teachers and students. He touched books, desks, and chairs. He thought again, education is key, and helping people is my mission. He traveled to meet leaders and communities. Cities were noisy, streets were busy. The smell of food, smoke, and flowers filled the air. He touched doors, railings, and files. He listened and learned from everyone. He thought again, knowledge and care can make a difference. Barack decided to run for president. The offices were full of papers, phones, and computers. The smell of coffee and ink was everywhere. He touched files, phones, and chairs. He listened to voters and gave speeches. He thought again, leadership requires effort, patience, and care. He faced many difficulties in the election. Some people disagreed, and news was challenging. The streets were noisy, and the offices smelled of paper. He touched files, papers, and notes. He thought again, I must continue, I must work hard, I must stay focused. He won the presidential election. The halls were bright and full of people. The smell of flowers, paper, and candles was strong. People clapped, smiled, and shook hands. He touched papers, chairs, and podiums. He thought again, hard work brings results, and dreams can come true. Barack Obama became the president. He worked to help schools, healthcare, and communities. The offices were full of maps, papers, and computers. The smell of coffee and paper was strong. He listened, spoke, and made decisions. He thought again, each effort helps many people, and I must continue working. Barack Obama served as president for many years. The White House was large and full of busy offices. The smell of flowers and coffee was everywhere. He touched papers, computers, and chairs. He listened to advisors and citizens. He thought again, every decision matters, and I must work carefully. He met leaders from other countries. The rooms were big, and the air smelled of flowers and ink. He shook hands and listened to speeches. He touched documents and chairs. He thought again, cooperation and understanding are important, and I must be patient. Barack worked to improve healthcare. Hospitals were clean and bright. The smell of medicine and soap was strong. He talked to doctors and nurses. He touched files, doors, and chairs. He thought again, helping people is my goal, and I must do my best. He focused on education for children. Classrooms were full and noisy. The smell of books and chalk was strong. He listened to teachers and students. He touched desks, books, and chairs. He thought again, education is the key to a better future. Barack worked for peace and understanding. Cities were noisy and busy. People talked and moved quickly. He touched files, doors, and papers. He listened to stories and problems. He thought again, every effort brings hope, and I must continue helping. He gave speeches to inspire people. Halls were full, and the smell of flowers and paper was strong. He touched podiums and notes. He saw people listening and smiling. He thought again, words can change minds, and I must speak clearly. Barack traveled to meet citizens and communities. Streets were busy, and the smell of food and flowers was strong. He touched railings, doors, and papers. He listened to stories of hope and struggle. He thought again, understanding people is important, and I must care. He faced criticism and challenges. Offices were noisy, and papers were everywhere. He touched files, phones, and documents. He worked long hours and felt tired. He thought again, patience and effort are necessary, and I must keep going. After his presidency, he continued to help people. The offices were quiet and bright. The smell of books and coffee was strong. He touched books, papers, and chairs. He listened, spoke, and inspired many. He thought again, helping others never ends, and I must continue learning. Barack Obama became a symbol of hope. People around the world respected him. Streets, schools, and offices were full of stories about his work. He touched books, files, and papers. He thought again, every action matters, and my dreams continue to inspire others.